Think about a moment in your life that caused you to have to take a pivot, whether it be a professional moment, whether it be a personal moment. Just think about that for a second. For Ferris, it was being laid off from his job. And even today, he'll be the first to tell you how, thinking back to that moment, thinking back to where he was in life, how emotional it makes him to this day. How that was something that, granted, he was given a heads up, so to speak, but it still impacted him. It impacted him, it impacted his family, but it also caused him to pivot specifically to entrepreneurship and start his own company, Start Up With Feras, where they're really here to target early stage entrepreneurs. Because oftentimes you can have an idea, but sometimes you may just not know how to get it off the ground. And then you may have gotten said idea off the ground, but then you struggle when it comes to scaling. So Ferris wants to talk to anybody in the services in the consulting space, and he's here to help you. He's here to boost you, but how? Through something he calls black belt principles. So I won't spoil anything. I'll let him do the talk and I'll let him do the explaining, but I need you to do the listening. So without further ado, enjoy episode 208, Seasons of Life. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. The road to 200, man. It's been an amazing one. From just thinking about, to put people in perspective of my podcast journey. I always kind of ask people, I guess this time now, what have you dedicated yourself to for 5 years, just willingly? Just not school, not sports, maybe sports in some cases, but some of us, we had to get into sports to stay out of trouble or just because our parents didn't want us sitting in the house all day. So what's something that you've really dedicated yourself to for 5 years? And I think about that with the podcast. I tell people all the time, that I really don't always recognize that I could just stop this at any moment. Like I could just stop recording episodes, stop posting content, stop reaching out to people, stop checking the emails and everything like that. But it's never really a thought that crosses my mind, because when you just love something, when you're just so happy to do it, very excited to connect with like-minded individuals, and they are just the same with you, then it just continues to propel you. And I'm very excited for this conversation, because I know Ferris will be no different. And I know that, one, he'll be able to be a resource for those out there, but some of y'all may even really be interested in what he has to offer, because he has a host of experience over the last few years. And we even relate more than I realized. He actually used to be a resident of where I currently am, right across the bridge in St. Pete. So that was something that we were able to connect on. But before I let him give his spiel, we kind of get down to business. Ferris, how you doing today? How's everything on your end?
Tamar, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. So, look, I know that you're joining us. You're going to have your network. You're going to have people tapping in from your side of the things. I know we're going to have people tapping in from my side of things, the Down to Business audience. But I also know that we're going to have newcomers, people that are finding out about both of us probably for the first time or in some capacity or whatever. But those are my favorite, because those are the people who we really like to take along the journey with us. But obviously, we don't want to slight anybody. We want everybody to get that same experience. So to bring everybody up to speed, to put everybody on the same page, can you just do two things for me? Can you, one, just tell me what brings you on one, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then two, tell me what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we used to live in St. Pete and in Tampa. Had one of my daughters was born there. So I have fond fond memories there. I started my career actually in tech as I graduated with an electrical engineering degree. Was doing okay, and then I missed a massive layoff by a tiny hair. I wasn't kind of giving it everything I had. I was doing okay. I was designing the first voice interactive system for a home shopping network way back then. And then after that layoff that impacted half of the company, I figured I got to do something about this. I have to kind of change that from that fixed mindset, coming, 8 to 5 and just doing the bare minimum to get by, to really learn and find areas in the business I could excel at. And with a couple of conversations with some mentors and people who are senior in the company, including the CEO, who was very open, I moved to another role, less technical, more people-facing, account management type role, and that really shifted things for me. Loved what I was doing, people interactions. Ended up getting a master's in engineering management from USF, and I did that actually remote. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot of things happening online, like online courses. So this is a funny story. I would go to the conference room, I would turn on the TV on a specific local channel, and I would see the professor. And then to speak, I would have to dial in to that class and speak on the phone. So, but I did manage to win with my young family, my wife, 3 children, working full time, one course at a semester. After 3.5 years or so, I think I finished my master's, and I really loved that whole people side of things, managing things, getting things done, not maybe hands on technical, and then promotions happened, and when you work hard, good things happen, and luck comes your way. So that's sort of the St. Pete Tampa connection there.
I like that. I like the USF. Yeah, to look at what you were saying and what you had to do now to how they operate. Well, I would have never even had to guess something like that, and really getting into that. So to go really back, like you said, and really think about the beginning stages of your journey, really starting in tech at the time that you started. What was really the landscape like? What was going on? What was popular? What was some of the biggest things? Because I feel like now we have all of these different social media platforms, all
Yeah.
of these AIs and Chat GPTs and Google releasing different things just the same. So back then, to rewind a little bit, what was really some of the things that were making headlines, things that everyone was kind of talking crazy about?
Yeah. So to give folks a perspective, again, the cutting edge system I was working on was to replace people dialing in and then telling the operator, I want this, I want that. They can press one for this, press two for that. This was cutting edge at the time, right? So it was exciting. So in that sense, I studied engineering. I wanted to work in my field. It took me a while to get into that job. The market was dry at this time. I had a friend who moved from, we were in Oklahoma. He moved to Home Shopping Network first, and then he said that we have an opening. So in a sense, I would have stayed in Oklahoma working outside of my major because I couldn't find a job after I graduated. And this friendship, this relationship, the person who knew that I'm a trustworthy person, I'm a credible person, he could refer me to his boss to be there for an interview. So I think that is, I think, common. Forget about YouTube and Instagram, and forget about all the AI tools to make sure your resume fits the job description to the T. Forget about all that. At the end of the day, it's really hard today to find a job. I know that. I just wrote an article on how difficult it is for Gen Z to land jobs. And I have 9 tips on that. But that that I think hustle to reach out to your network, that hustle to understand about the company you're interviewing with, that hustle to don't just send the resume and forget about it, to follow up, to call, to email. It's hard, but you gotta leverage your network. You gotta tell a story about your background. I think those things, that the human touches, the human interactions, Tamar, I don't think that changed a whole lot, over the last 25 years or so. So the tools, the systems, the way maybe we communicate, all of that is different, but the people side of it is really something that we can and we should nurture a lot to get us to better places.
Now, as somebody who really prides themselves on, the customer service, the hospitality, communication, everything like that, I definitely think what you're saying is important. We talk a lot with different business owners and entrepreneurs just about authenticity and being genuine and recognizing that, you want people to really see you, see the brand, see kind of what you guys offer, what's there and everything like that. But you also want them to know, hey, I can talk to Tamar if I need to. I can talk to Feras if I need to. I can ask questions. I can pick their brain. I'm not talking to a chat bot or automated, or we're just not going to go back and forth. I think that personal touch, as you said, that personal connection is one for sure. And it's one that will even kind of propel you and put you sometimes that extra step above. Because oftentimes that we talk about too, and I've talked to a lot of different people in retail or product service based B2B, anything like that, where they say that a lot of times they've gotten some of their best customers or their best consumers because of trust, or because of a great first impression, or because of that relationship that they built, rather than trying to sell a product. You build that rapport first. You talk, you get to know people, what's going on, you check in, you pay. But you also too, with this, you don't also just do this with the hopes of making a sale or retaining. You do this because you genuinely want to, because you want these things to be remembered. You don't want to just have that conversation that goes in one ear, out the other. And then the next thing you know, the next time you see them, you forget their name. That's the worst. I've had conversations with people sometimes, and we talk about so much, and we go through so many things, and we learn, and we so intrigued. And then by the end of the conversation, I'm like, what was that person's name? Wow. Like that was, I had to approach listening from a different perspective that way. So, okay. As we continue to fast forward now, as we think about the tech industry and what you were doing and what was like the craze and what was the hottest thing now and what you were really working towards, did you always know from your perspective that you wanted to get into business ownership, you wanted to become an entrepreneur? Was that something that you were surrounded by? What was really your early introductions to that side of the world?
Short answer, Tamar, is no. I'd love to paint a story where, yeah, I dreamed about it and I saved money, and no, that wasn't the case. It's hard. It's hard to take the leap. It's hard to start your own business. So with all the promotions back in Florida, I got to a director level. I was asked to relocate to Silicon Valley, the other Bay Area on the other coast, and lead the office here and lead an office in Toronto. And accepted that. That was not planned. Another pivot in life, right? And then I got exposed to the startup culture and just being here in Silicon Valley. And I moved to a startup where we raised $96 million. It was infrastructure, tech infrastructure, cutting edge. I got to be a VP in that startup. And then one day, it was a Wednesday afternoon, the new appointed CEO, newly appointed CEO walks in the office, and he closed the door and he says, "Hey, Ferris, you have a minute?" I said, "Sure." And that, in the back of my mind, like, why is he closing the door? What did I do? Did I mess things up? And he said, "Hey, Ferris, tomorrow we have a layoff." And I sort of sensed it was going to happen. And what I did not sense is what he said next. "And you're impacted. You're part of that layoff." And tomorrow, I, I get emotional if I get into it now, but I still feel my heart pumping so fast, my stomach dropping, all these thoughts. No way, I'm a VP, I work so hard. I used to put 14, 15, 16 hours a day. Like, no way, it could have been, what am I going to tell my wife? What am I going to tell my friends? Why me? You feel that sense of inadequacy. All of that is going on. Emotional, psychological, physical pain. But that's sort of, that layoff led me to work as hard as possible to find a job. And in 6, 7, 8 weeks, not even one single interview, despite all the resumes I was sending. It was a dry market, similar to what we are experiencing now. And then I ran into another friend who was thinking of starting a business. And then we joined sources, we joined hands, joined resources, and kicked off our very first business to sell web design and online marketing to small businesses. And then from there on, we grew that business, sold the business, built another business, sold it. And then up till fast forward to 2019, where we got to a business in digital analytics. We were a top Google partner globally. We were at 8 figures at the time. And with the amazing team that we had, amazing people, just our team got us to that point. And then we sold that business to Dentsu, the global media giant. So that's sort of, that was that next phase, a very, very difficult period, and a layoff, and everything that's associated with the layoff, in a way, forced me into entrepreneurship. But it's all just great, once you sort of absorb that initial shock, and let it sink. It's okay to mourn, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel terrible for a day or two, but after that, you have to really get back on your feet and hit the pavement and do what you can, to see what life is going to bring you in the next chapter of that journey.
To lose a job at any point is devastating, but to lose it under the circumstances and the situation that you were in, that's even crazier. To know that, not only did you have to worry about taking care of you have a family.
Yes,
You have
sir.
other responsibilities that just, don't, because I tell people that all the time, that just because one thing stops or one thing doesn't continue or something happens or anything like that, you can't just call your mortgage company, or you can't just call your apartment complex or anything like that and just say, "Hey, just going through some unexpected things right now. If y'all can just give me a month or so, we'll make it." The bills are going to continue to happen, the responsibilities. And if anything, it feels like they amplify in a sense, whenever you really have to be strategic or bootstrap or whatever the case may be, it seems like that's when everything just needs you and wants to pull you in that particular direction. But I like what you said about that answer for two reasons. One, because you showed both sides of the layoff, the impact of it. You showed that it was a time where you were just distraught. You were just devastated. You didn't even necessarily know what the next move was going to be, but you needed to make a move. And sometimes with the mood that put you in, you don't even want it. Who wants to be firing off job applications?
Yeah.
after I just lost a job that I put my best foot forward for day in and day out, every unapologetically, you know. But you also gave the side of it's always important to exhaust your resources and tap into your network and utilize those around you. You know, it's one thing to, as a man, that pride is gonna hit, it's gonna hurt, you know, everything like that. But you can't be afraid to start from ground zero, start from square one, be told no, take two steps just to not three steps backwards or anything. And I think that you showed a great example as to that. So I want to really take it back to the first business that you guys started, the first business coming off of a layoff. Now, with thinking about that business, with going into it, with joining forces, as you said, with your friend, and y'all are kind of able to just piggyback off of one another, was there any apprehension there? Was there any nervousness there? Was there any just like you didn't really kind of know? And the reason why I'm thinking that is because you go from being a VP of a company, stability, something that you know, guaranteed, you're going to get that check, that things is going to happen, you know, to now like with starting a business, with becoming an entrepreneur, a business owner, it's all on you or your counterparts or your friend. You know, if you don't work, if you don't do this, if you don't follow up, if you don't do that, that check is not going to come as a result of it. So going from what you had and knowing your situation and knowing things were clear cut and concise to now just this is a lot to pull from, this is a lot to learn. What was that transition for you?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I'll quote Damon John from one of the sharks on Shark Tank, right? He says, I think something like this: I owe my success to two things: my mistakes, learning from my mistakes, and also my network and advisors. And I think going through that phase where I again, there's a morning phase, a few days of like, oh my goodness, but then you just pick yourself back up and start. Okay, what do I do? I start to send resumes out, right? At the same time, talking to people who are impacted in a situation, you know, they were in a very similar situation. And then your network that you need to build. Your network is just like your hard skills, your soft skills. You got to invest in your network. And anyone, I think, whom you've left a positive impression on is someone you can probably tap into. They can give you an advice. They can make a connection. They can make an introduction. They might be your next business partner. So this is the Startup with Feras, my current business consulting company. It's my seventh venture, and in all these seven ventures, I've always had co-founders, and these co-founders, people you've known maybe at work, ex-colleagues in college. In one of my recent ventures, the person I'm partnering with, he's someone I worked with at Home Shopping Network 25 plus years ago. And I mean, because you know, you leave an impression on people. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, your reputation is like fine china, very hard, very expensive to acquire, and very easy to break. So leveraging your knowledge, of course, you have to have that, your skills, hard skills, technical skills, and also your soft skills, communication, listening, empathy, all that good stuff. And also your network. It just, people will help you. You have a whole lot of people who are retired now or semi-retired who'd love nothing more than speaking with a young person, especially if you have young folks in your audience, and help you out, no charge, because they have a lot of experience and they want to share and help the next generation of founders and those who are looking for career advice. So I think for me, surrounding yourself with people who share the same values, who share the same work ethics. They work hard. I work hard, play hard. That's my motto in life. And then finding people who complement, you know, you. For example, if you are strategic and think big picture, find someone as a business partner or maybe as your first employee who's very tactical, who can maybe take care of things so they don't slip through the cracks. If you're sort of that, you know, believer type person, like you give everyone the like gazillion, you know, a whole lot of benefit of doubt. You want to find someone who's a bit more skeptical, so they can help you make the right decision, and people don't take advantage of you. So I think those are the, you know, I'm highlighting the concept of leveraging your network and finding people who will help you. And it's maybe hard for men, as you said, Tamar, to ask for help, but I can tell you that there is no self-made millionaire. There is no self-made anything. Top athletes, top male athletes, top female athletes, they have a whole lot of support, a whole lot of coaches. I'm not in sports. I know a little bit about it, but I'm into martial arts. I mean, the art that is brought to us from generations of masters and senseis and teachers and peers. That we don't get to. I'm again fortunate to be a third degree black belt in Aikido. This, yes, working hard is part of it. Training, going through the pain and the struggle is part of it. But that the advisors, the coaches, the senseis, the teachers, the peer group beginners, when I work with a beginner, I learn from them. So that mind of learning from others and leaning in others. And I think we have the last point here is you also have to reciprocate. We have to give back. We have to help those around us, no matter how difficult your life is. It might be very difficult in one phase, but you have seasons in your life where you can give either time, money, and at a minimum, wish someone well, like sincerely put positive energy in the universe. And if you're the spiritual type, the religious type, praying for people, like it doesn't matter, but doing something for others, no matter how difficult your circumstance is, I think is really important. And then the universe, or God, again, depending on everybody's, perspective on things, will put things in front of you, opportunities that you never thought they'll be in front of you. So I kind of went a bit on a tangent there.
Nah, trust me, that was a gem of a tangent, if that's what you want to call it, because that's important. I think to the beginning part of that answer, where you also talked about the importance of just helping, just that paying it forward or paying it back in a sense. And I speak to this a lot on the podcast, but I'm glad that you said it too, because it just further emphasizes what these people out here are doing. As and I'm talking to my audience in this case, as I tell you guys time and time again, we have real life experts, real people that were in the field, when the resources weren't as plentiful and abundant as they are now. We have people now who have made those mistakes, have gone through the trials and tribulations, have gone through that obstacle course so that you can go on that straight line. And I love, and I think it's so important that they offer themselves up. But I also think it's just 10 times more important to take advantage of it. It's nothing like a free, if anything had the words free in front of it, it would open your eyes a little bit, or it would kind of make you it would make you do a double take. So that's what this is right now. These are free resources. Ferris literally has a free neon sign around him right now that he's trying to help, that he's trying to empower, but also educate and really just propel you forward as well, because business consulting is needed. I feel like sometimes we just need life consultants. We just need a consultant on just how life goes, because whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur, you're still going through the day to day. You're still having responsibilities. You're still having to do things and go through things, handle families, cars, insurance, everything of the sort that falls under the sun. So I love that you're doing that. But something I was also very interested in was, you said this is your seventh venture now. So I've talked to quite a few serial entrepreneurs. And to me, that was such a interesting term, because I didn't know it at first before coming into the Down to Business podcast. I wasn't really thinking of the word serial going in front of entrepreneur, So to hear that now, and to talk to people who have had successful exits, who have gone through different ventures, who have been bought out and everything like that, I love to see it. But I'm also very curious to pick your brain specifically. So with going into these new ventures, with starting these new companies, with going into them, are you automatically thinking that you want to get out, you want to get a buyout, or you want to exit successfully, or everything like that? Is this sometimes where, how do you basically know how long you want to stick with a company personally? Like,
Yeah.
is it just, do you wait for a certain peak of success? Do you wait for a certain revenue? Are you also going off the goals of like your co-founders and what you guys are doing? Take me a little bit deeper into that process and how you kind of figure out how you want to explore and go through certain things.
Yeah, that's there are a lot of factors involved here. And I think early when you start your business, I think we hear the stories, we hear the success stories. You go on YouTube and you think you can become a millionaire in 3 months, right? So do not watch any of this stuff. Trust me. This stuff is hard. Yes, people, advisors, YouTubers, some of them who are legit and they have built businesses, you can learn from what they offer. And we all obviously package things and embellish things a little bit. But at the end of the day, there's no, we have those black belt principles at Startup with Ferris. And one of them is passion is optional, sacrifice and skills are not. So you got to put the time and effort into something. Just like if you have a baby and you want to nurture it and help it grow, if you have a garden, if whatever it is, business is the same thing. So when I first started the business, I was trying to survive, Tamar. I had no background in sales. No background in sales. of course, in corporate, you get to know a little bit about marketing and sales, but I'd never sold anything to anyone. So learning sales was a huge thing for me. So I wasn't thinking of becoming a Silicon Valley thing where you can grow and exit and make a lot of money. I was thinking about surviving and kind of going to the next payroll. We never missed payroll, my co-founder and I, but I tapped into my savings. I actually depleted my 401k at one point with the approval and support of my amazing, beautiful wife at the time. So she's still amazing, and beautiful. but in all these business ventures, sometimes it's really hard. So you're kind of thinking at times just like the next pay period, the next month, the next quarter, right? I want to get to break even. And then once I get to break even, I want to be more profitable. Then I want to expand. I want to pivot. I want to double down on something. I want to quit other things. So at least in my experience, I wasn't thinking about, oh my God, yeah, I want to grow and sell and do the Silicon Valley thing. Later, I think as after you have maybe a success and after maybe you build and sell one thing, then it becomes, okay, now I've done it once, can I replicate it? Can I maybe do something where I can be more efficient in building a company? I can do a better job in hiring the right people. So I think that it changed for me. It changed over time. Initially, I wasn't thinking about any of this stuff. I wanted to just survive. I wanted to pay the debt. I want to build up, build back my 401k. Um, but as you become profitable, and you take care of your employees with some of that profit you're getting, and if you build an amazing culture, you have an amazing team, then you have options. I want to now maybe tag on another service. I want to expand. I want to maybe package this, maybe sell it to my business partner and go do something else. So for me, it was sort of that my thinking evolved. But I get it. A lot of people want to get in business because they, for that financial upside, which is, it's there. No one guarantees success, and there's a high percentage of failure in businesses. I think those who don't listen, who don't do their homework, uh, those who don't work hard, those they will increase their chances of failure. But those of us who work hard and learn from others, again, success is not guaranteed, but I think, maximize your probability, your likelihood of winning, of making it and making it big. So I think the thinking evolves, and then, I mean, at this stage now, yeah, I'm thinking of, okay, how can I come in and help maybe a company grow and build and grow and scale and sell more as an advisor, more as a board member. I'm still involved in a couple of ventures, uh, especially the Startup with Feras, which is in a way a media company and a business consulting company. And Tamar, as you know, it's really hard to generate content that resonate with people and build a community. So back here, after all these years, I'm still learning a lot about a new thing. The whole creator economy. Again, we do consulting, so there's part of it that I've done for a long time. But the creator economy and building a community and growing that community and figuring out YouTube, it is really hard. And I'm back learning. I'm a student of YouTube now, trying, and then a couple of our team members trying to figure it out.
YouTube University, as we call it. But I like that point too, because it also goes to show you how you always have to remain a student of the game. There's always something to learn. Even if you think about the transformation of the industry from when you started, and what, like you said, just the pressing one for this, the pressing two for that, and how it's evolved and what has happened to now. And if you were someone who may have been stagnant to adjust to change, or someone who may have been even against change, you may not have survived in a plethora of different industries, or even in the world today as we know it, because it's hard to just figure out, what's going on, what's happening, what's the best of the best right now, what's the newest of the new. Even it gets to a point now where companies, where sites, anything like that, they're all competing with one another. Oh, Instagram just dropped this. All right, well, let me find something to mirror it. Oh, Facebook is doing this. Oh, Twitter just rebranded to that. It's always just like a game of cat and mouse, or a catch-up game, or just kind of figuring out what's happening and what's going on. So I think, like you said too, it's important for businesses to recognize that. And because also that's how clientele, that's how things happen. But like you said, I think as you start to experience more, as you start to go through more, learn more, grow more, that thinking kind of transforms and it changes. You like you said, you came in, this is survival. I need that money. We have to take care of some things. We have to make it happen. But as you start to get the hang of things per se, or you get into a niche that you like, or you're more familiar with, oh, okay, we can really add some things to this. And I really like kind of what's going on. So thinking about the consulting part of what you do, thinking about where you're meeting business owners, entrepreneurs, and everything like that. For everyone tapping in, because we are a plethora of industries: healthcare, real estate, apparel, retail, music, dog treats, even. We have a lot of different people that have touched this podcast space. Would you say that your consulting covers all niches? It covers, if somebody comes to you and wants to work with you, or wants to kind of, pick the brain about what they could be doing better in their business to propel, or maybe they're even thinking about starting a business. Is there any niche or any industry that you shy away from, or should everybody come to work with Startup with Feras?
Yeah. So our content is available on YouTube. Also, we have a daily newsletter. I think most of the concepts we cover apply to all businesses. In terms of where we want to focus our energy on the consulting side is early stage entrepreneurs in the services and consulting space. Early stage, two definitions there for us: someone who has an idea and they're struggling on how to just get it off the ground. And then those who started and they're struggling in sales, in hiring, in marketing. They could be struggling for 2 3 years, and they just need to reset, or they need to maybe pivot. So anyone who's, I would say, early stage, meaning they want to start a business or they started and they're struggling. I think there's this area, this audience, I think, is underserved in general. There's a lot of content on growing the business, scaling the business. So that, I think, where we do a lot of, I think, a lot of help to folks. Now on the sort of board side of things, I am approached at times by companies who are looking for a board member or provide sort of board level advice. They don't need help like week in, week out, but they're about to make a major investment in something, or they're looking to maybe enter into a new market, and they just need some strategic advice. So that could be also an area we can help in. But we're trying to focus on services and consulting, because they say riches in the niches. So we try to eat our own dog food, as they say in Silicon Valley, and focus on a target audience. Because if you're trying to sell to everyone, you're selling to no one. So focusing on the early stage entrepreneurs, not in tech. Tech gets a lot of support. There are a lot of VCs provide a lot of resources, but mostly in services and consulting.
Makes sense. Now, always good to know, and always good to have people just be familiar as to what to expect, when coming across your website or social medias or anything like that, or really just hearing, or maybe even they know somebody who knows so much.
Yep.
But a lot of times that's what I'm noticing about, as you spoke to, the network, just figuring out you may not necessarily need these services, or it may not be anything that you're technically going to embark upon or embrace, but you could have a friend, you could have a family member, you could have a
Absolutely.
colleague, you could have somebody who we talked on the podcast. Hey, I just interviewed a guy named Ferris. I think you guys will be perfect. And I think, you're right at the early stages with what he is working with, and you're trying to grow, you're trying to propel, you're trying to elevate. And I feel like he can get you over that hump and over that hill. So in your previous answer, though, you said, and I'm going to need you to finish this again for me. You said passion is optional, but sacrifice and skills are
Are
not.
not. Yeah.
And you said that was a black belt principle for you. So I could imagine that there are a certain set of maybe guidelines, principles, or anything that, with working with you, when you kind of approach things from a consulting perspective, that you abide by, or that you use, or that you tailor to. So would you be able to share a little bit more as to how you kind of, well, I think I know where you kind of coined the black belt part from, but how were you able to, over the years and over just the consulting experiences that you've had and the clients that you've talked to, how are you able to refine and define these principles to allow them to be your business model?
Yeah, no, that's probably a whole episode on that one. But briefly, there are some time tested principles. I think they work all the time, every time. It doesn't matter YouTube, no YouTube. Doesn't matter Gen X, Gen Z. It doesn't matter. You got to work hard, play hard. All right. In terms of skills. So there's a book, I really like this book by the co-founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, about the startup of you. Each one of us, and in it, part of it is like reinventing yourself. He said, think of yourself as a product. Again, this is Silicon Valley. There's alpha, beta, right? Like you have versions of the product that's not complete. A beta product is not complete yet. And he said, you have to think of yourself as as a beta, like you're always learning. And this is exactly what you touched on earlier, Tamar, is that there's so many changes. There's so many changes. AI is in everywhere. It's here to stay. So you're not going to be replaced by AI. Someone said this. you will be replaced by the next guy in your field who is using AI more than you are, right? So the principles, a lot of the principles we have in our framework of consulting is all these principles are in these time tested things that they've I've lived through them. I've heard other founders, I've people who've failed or those have succeeded, they've used similar things. So for example, we say, the thing of passion, like I think 85% of, this is a survey by research by Deloitte. 85% of Gen Z, they want to work for somewhere where there's like, it matches with their like life values, and there's a sense of purpose. I get it. I get it. Okay. But my friend, if you're a recent graduate, you can be picky a couple of years later. For now, pick up skills, learn things, get certifications, get a job, even if you don't like it. Life is not black and white. You might not like 3 things in this job, but you like 7 other things. But get in there, work as hard as you can. Even if you hated it, just work hard. You'll be promoted, likely. You will pick up skills. And then once you have a job and you have an income and you're paying off maybe your debt, you're not staying with your family, then you can use that period that's to look for a better job, potentially start your own business and set up that amazing culture and those values that are really important to you. So those principles, another one just I'll mention here, we talk about do learn, implement, and then seek advice. So a lot of people just they rush to seek advice, they hire advisors. A lot of people, they don't want to get their feet wet. As a general principle, if you want to pick up a CRM software, if you want to pick up an accounting software, if you want to learn a new marketing campaign, paid ads on Meta or on Google, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you cannot outsource everything from A to Z. You have to, in my mind, you have to touch it for a little bit, learn a little bit about it, do a little bit about it, and then you'll have enough, I think, enough knowledge to discern what to do next. You either do it yourself because that's strategic for the business, or find a contractor or an employee or a vendor who can help you with this. So this concept of do, implement, then seek advice is in my mind, it sounds simple, maybe funny, but it is foundational in just how you as a business owner get to understand like the various aspects of the business, and then pick one or two that you're going to be the most knowledgeable person. People will point at you and say he is the expert in this area. And then the other aspect of the business, you want to know enough to manage it and get the right people to do it for you, especially if you're planning on growing and scaling beyond being a solopreneur. So bunch of principles, but those are a few that come to mind now.
But with that too, I'm hearing that obviously it is so important to have some sort of strategy, some sort of foundation already built and already tailored. That way you can just then implement. As you said, I do love the idea of, like you said, just getting your feet wet, just experiencing things and not necessarily just going to seek. I'm quick to, before I say that I just don't know something, or before I do this or I do that, I'll at least try it, or I'll look it up on my own before I then go seek the outside. Because a lot of times, sometimes we can solve our own stuff. Sometimes a YouTube search or a quick Google or something like that, it could really open up multitude of doors for you, multitude of resources, and you could even learn things that you may not have learned. That's why a lot of times we go down these dark holes or different ways. You came on YouTube or you looked at this for one thing, and next thing you know, you're all the way over there on a different spectrum doing something else. But I think it's always important to have some sort of just principles or guidelines and everything.
Yep.
And it's not to say that all of this has to just be etched and set in stone. The same way it was made, the same way it was thought about, it was acted upon, and it was implemented, is the same way that it can be changed, redefined, it can be adjusted, elevated, and everything too. So I think that that's also important, because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we have to recognize that staying the same is only going to last but for so long. You have to get with the times. You have to bring people along that can also get with the times, or also give you different perspectives or different eyes or different, just an approach to business. Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes I just talk to people and get that feedback, because I know their approach is different than mine. And I know why we may want the same thing, why we ultimately want to hit that same point and reach the same goal. Your way of getting to it may be strategically different or methodically different than what I'm thinking of. And that may be helpful to me. So I love to hear that. And I love to see that, because it also just lets me know that when people decide to embark or decide to move forward or decide to, hey, I want to pick Feras's brand, I want to talk to them, what they can expect moving forward, what approach you're going to take, how are they going to take a deeper dive into helping themselves, because ultimately that's really what it is. You're coming to get help, and what he's telling you, what he's giving it's obviously proven, tested. It's made to be true, but it's only true for how much you do it. You have to implement it. As you said, the passion is optional. It's up to you. You know, nobody's. I'm gonna take a step back. You know, I'm good. You have to really. But when you love it, as I spoke about in the beginning, it doesn't. It makes it feel second nature almost. It makes it feel like just what you're doing, and it makes it really feel good for you. So before we wrap things up, before we close things out, you know, I know that you said part of your business is the media side of things as
Yep.
well, and how just, you know, content creation, it's quite the umbrella these days. It's a lot to keep up with. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to just, as I said, even from a social media perspective, like, man, you have shorts, reels, tweets, posts, stories, lives.
Tell
It's
me
it's
about
a lot, meta, and that, you know, it's too much. TikToks, everything of the sort. So from what you do, from the perspective that you have, from the experiences that you've had, from the clients even that you've dealt with and helped, what are some tips and some tricks, or maybe even some advice that you could give out there for people that are in the space of trying to create content, to push, to propel their brand, and may not necessarily know where or what to do?
it. So I remember back in 2003 when we started this whole web design online marketing, there was a saying at the time, content is king. Fast forward to 21 years later, I think that's still true. I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of channels, there's a lot of ways to repurpose, repackage the content, but at the end of the day, you have to have something you offer to the world. You have to add value. And that value, I think, comes from research, for example. It comes from your own experience, your authentic experiences, uh, things you've done well, things that you've learned from. Like, for example, I remember I did a live stream on our channel on the 10 tips on hiring your first hire. And Tamar, all these 10 tips are from 10 mistakes I made in hiring over the years, right? So I think in terms of content, you can't just go to Google Gemini or Chat GPT and just type something. You can, I guess, get it and then put it on a camera. I mean, you have to add to it. I use AI all the time. I use Chat GPT all the time. Maybe it helps you with brainstorming, being more thorough, things you did not maybe think about. Make sure your grammar is set up right. All that, these are good use cases for Chat GPT or Google Gemini or others. But I think you have to think of the message, like who the audience is. And it might take a lot of iterations, especially on YouTube. YouTube is really hard to find that niche of an audience, and then you're connecting with them. And it's like for us on our channel, the short form, they're working much better than the long form. And again, this is sort of building in public, as they say here. Uh, we have a lot to do. I think we know after now a year and a half at it, I have a long list of things I want to improve on, including my delivery. When I deliver today in front of a live camera is one thing. You put a recorded camera, Tamar, and I don't know. It's like a completely new setting. Like, oh my God, why am I stuttering? Why am I like nervous? I have no idea. So working on your delivery, working on your content, you can again research, you can go deep into your own personal stories, like how you've helped others, how other helped you, or if you're into art, or how to like. I think that's really core. The packaging and the editing and the titles and the thumbnails, and then we do things on LinkedIn versus maybe Twitter versus TikTok. All of that, obviously, it has to be, the content has to work for the internet platform in terms of, I think, the packaging, but the essence of it, the authentic aspect, the research aspect, and then a few other things are really important. And I think that's what will work on the long run. But for those of you who want to be big on YouTube, I can tell you, get ready for a long ride. it's it's not a quick thing.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of great creators who help creators as well. I think
for sure.
specific to YouTube, so learn from those. And then I think in other types of content, just find people. Find, if you're into the newsletter, if you're into maybe podcasting, whatever the case might be, find people. This is another black belt principle. Only seek advice from those who have been to where you want to go. So don't just talk to random people. People who have been to where we want to go, and especially if they know you and they care about you, they care for you, you get the most amazing advice.
Everybody's trying to crack that code, one method, one post, one video at a time. So I'm definitely in full agreement of that. And a lot of what I've learned and made been purposeful about as I continue to grow this business is, like you said, just looking at those true business mentors from a I want to get to where you are perspective, and I'm gonna study that, I'm gonna emulate that, but also still keep true to what I do. And the minute, because there's a difference between just wanting to emulate something, wanting to be motivated by something, and then when you just allow comparison to be the thief of your joy. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of times we may look at certain things from a monetary perspective or from a number perspective or anything, and it can be very discouraging. But you also have to recognize that there's not a lot of overnight success here. There's no self-made millionaires out there.
mm,
So as we said, everybody has to exhaust some type of resource, tap into some type of network, get assistance or get help in some type of way, whether they realize it or not. So I love that point for sure. That's a great, I obviously this goes without saying, but these black belt principles are pretty spot on, fair. So shout out to you for
thank you. I appreciate it.
about that. Yeah, absolutely. So do you feel like there's anything that we have not touched on today that you want to leave the people with, whether it be just anything that maybe Startup with Feras has coming up, anything that you're looking forward to as we continue to work through the rest of the year, people who are finding out about you that they can look forward to, any even last words that you want to leave for other
Sure.
owners, entrepreneurs, content creators out there, anything along those lines?
No, thank you, Tamar. I really also appreciate your perspective, and I'm taking a couple of mental notes here on what you said. I think a couple of things maybe I'll end with. One is, it is difficult. Life, I think a lot of times we see, we watch things on Instagram, on TV, whatever, stream, we're bombarded by so many marketed messages. And life is not perfect. I don't think life is meant to be perfect. So there are always struggles. It could be with your health, it could be with money, it could be with your time, it could be with addiction issues yourself, people in your family. There are always challenges. So I think, regardless of the belief system that folks have, but going through these challenges and overcoming these challenges and just giving it our best is really what matters at the end of the day. Uh, so if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a sales manager, if you are someone who wants to start a yoga studio, whatever the case might be, it is not going to be easy. But don't give up. Don't give up too early. You can pivot, you can change things, but it's really hard to start something from the ground up. It's really hard. So we say entrepreneurship is 5 times harder than you think. So give it the time, plan, adjust, but don't give up. You'll learn a lot of skills along the way. Even if you ended up pivoting, you've learned a lot from that one experience. So that's one concept, in terms of, it's not going to be a rosy road. You will enjoy the benefit of your hard work in different ways, not just financially. And the second thing, more on the financial side, yes, I'm a capitalist at heart. I want to make the next buck as much as the other person, right? Uh, but life is money will make things easier. Money will not bring you happiness. Maybe easy for me to say, people, okay, this guy, he sold businesses. I'm just telling you, for as a matter of fact, a lot money will not bring you happiness. It could make some things easier, but you could have a miserable life with money. So make it part of what you're working towards, and financial independence. We're living longer. Uh, Life is getting more expensive, economy up and down depending on the political aisle you listen to. Who knows? So 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 work towards, yes, financial independence. I think that's one thing. At the same time, as Ralph Waldo Emerson, he said, life is not about just being happy. I'm paraphrasing here. He said life is about being compassionate, about being honorable, and about being useful to others. So you want to leave this life where you've lived well, and you've helped others. So no matter how little your resources are, your little time you have, little money you have, or if you have a lot of time, a lot of money, I think, help others, share with others, share with your team members. Go to an underprivileged, maybe, school district, and offer math tutoring if you're good in math, or go to Habitat for Humanity, or do whatever. I donate blood. I'll plug American Red Cross here. I think I'm on like my over 100 blood donations every couple of months. If you're eligible, do something to help others while you're still working hard and establishing some legacy for you and for those who come after you. So those sort of couple of thoughts. Life is hard, but take it head on, work hard, things will improve. And then don't just think about money, make a lot of money and then share with others.
I'm not about to argue with anything that you said. I love every bit of that, man. From the time from the time we started this interview until now, I really do appreciate just the authenticity behind everything that we talked about. About how the path wasn't the easiest, even the transparency with you about dealing with the layoff and just how you had to rebound from that, and the approach that you had to take, and when everything was kind of back against the wall for fight or flight mode in a sense, but how you didn't allow that to define you. How things can happen, how things can trip us up, but even we fall sometimes, but do you stay on the ground? Do you let that bruise just take over life, or do you get up, wipe off the knee, scrape, whatever the case may be, and do you just keep pressing on forward? Because all it takes is really just 1% better each day, and that'll be 365 or 366 by the end of the year. You can't really beat that. So arguably now the most important part of the interview, what I like to call the call to action. So this is where pretty much we put the ball in the people's court, and we let them kind of decide what they want to do from it from there. So can you give us everything that you have in regards to tapping in with you, for people who want to reach out to you, for people who want to explore the website, social media platforms, everything like that? Just give us everything you got, Feras.
Sure. Thank you. And we'll send you the links also. Basically, go to YouTube at Startup with Feras, and Feras spelled Feras, just like my first name, or go on startupwithferas.com, our website. So on the YouTube channel, you'll see the videos, short form, long form. We have live streams every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, where we cover a business topic, and then we answer questions that come to us from the community. There's a series, just a recent series on CRMs. So those of us who are sales is messy for them and they have post-it notes and spreadsheets, you got to listen to this, I think, series on CRMs. So those are channel ways for people to connect with us, and then you can sign up with our daily newsletter, the Daily Advisor, every day, Monday through Friday, and then yeah, you have reach out with questions, comments on our content, or just email us. I make sure to answer all these questions, and if it's a personal sort of bit of a private question, I don't obviously share it with others. But yeah, would love to hear from your audience, from your community, what other topics they're interested in, what sort of challenges that are happening in the Bay Area, on the East Coast, St. Pete, Tampa Bay area, and also the Bay Area here as well.
We went coast to coast with this interview, so I love that for sure. But yes, definitely we'll be sure to share that, plug my network in every capacity. And as I say in every episode to my audience, look, I'm not doing this for my health, y'all. I'm doing this because I want y'all to win. I want y'all to eat. I want y'all to propel. I want y'all to be able to pay it forward, pay it back. I want y'all to feel that true happiness. I want you to ultimately to wake up and just love what you do every single day, and just make it the best day possible, even on those rainy days. Just still, that you weathered the storm and you still made it happen. So Feras, from me to you, from down to business to Start Up with Feras, thank you for everything that you continuously do. Thank you for the resource that you've made yourself to my audience just the same. And thank you really just for the diligent work that you're doing day in and day out to help propel other business owners and entrepreneurs. And we're definitely big supporters. We're here to tap into the journey, and we will be following now and forevermore. If there's ever anything that we can do to help, obviously never hesitate to reach out to me, to tap in, send the team my way. Let's make it happen. Let's do what it do. But to everybody out there who continuously listens, continuously supports, man, this has been a great year for Down to Business, from the live event to the grant to a new logo coming out, to just being able to really just have that impact, to be able to reach out to different business owners and entrepreneurs. To this is the year, I'm a knock on wood, that this is the year that we actually, out of all 5 years, we've recorded the most episodes. So it's just been crazy, really, to see everything propel and really everything come to fruition. So I thank y'all. I love y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast, here with Tamar Turner.
Thank you so much, Tamar. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. This was amazing. So now just